Good morning, children. So, welcome back to our chapter Physical Features of India. We have done a major part of this chapter. I have already started with the Peninsula Plateau, and we have already completed the Central Highland, which lies north of the Vindhyas and the Satpuras. We have also completed this northeastern plateaus. So, now in the Peninsula Plateau portion, the portion that is left is our Deccan Plateau, along with that the bordering hills, that is the Western Ghats, the Eastern Ghats. So we will continue in this portion, and I will complete this part of this Deccan Plateau. You can also note down the map work from the drawing. As I proceed, I will instruct you and you will take them down accordingly. Starting with the Deccan Plateau lies to the south of Narmada River. Now this Narmada River flows between the Vindhyas and the Satpuras. Here is Vindhya and here is Satpura. So this Deccan Plateau flows to the south of the Narmada River, or you can say it lies to the south of this Vindhyas and the Satpura range, and it has a shape of an inverted triangle. Now a triangle is shaped like this. This is the shape of a triangle. Generally it is shaped like this. But here the base is northward and the peak and the apex is to the south. So we say it is like an inverted triangle. This Deccan Plateau is bordered by the Western Ghats on the western side, the Eastern Ghats on the eastern side. Here in the south also, it's a part of the Western Ghats, popularly known as the Nilgiris. So you can see that it is bordered by Western Ghats on the west, Eastern Ghats in the east. Here this portion also is bordered by Western Ghats, and here in the base portion we are having the Satpura ranges. Another range is there very close to it, lying in this way, known as the Ajanta range. So these ranges are there, which makes it enclosed plateau, a plateau which is bordered on all the sides. Now this Deccan Plateau has a volcanic origin. Volcanic because it has experienced lava flow in the past. Now see, children, what happens? The lava is viscous in nature. That is, it has the capacity to flow. But the flowing capacity depends upon how much water is there in the lava that is coming out. Generally, water and silica, these two are the main constituents of the lava. Now, in Deccan Plateau, what happened? When the Himalayas were forming at that time, under the impact of the collision of this Indian plate along with the Eurasian plate, there appeared several cracks on the surface. Okay, in this way, cracks appeared on the surface of this area. Originally, there was no plateau in this area. Similarly, there had appeared cracks in this portion, that is in the Central Highland portion, and the cracks are known as fissures, that is Fissurres. Like, it has occurred in this way. The cracks have occurred in this way. They are known as fissures. Now lava came out from this crack and they solidified to form plateaus. Plateaus are generally in this way. Now this gives the appearance like once the lava has flown, then there is a gap, some time gap, and again the lava has come out. Again there is gap. Again the lava has come out. So it has given a step-like appearance, like one layer after another layer, like one layer is deposited, then another layer is deposited after a certain time gap. So layer after layer it is deposited with some time gap, and this has given a step-like formation or step-like appearance in the plateau area. That's why most of our plateaus are having subgroups. So our Deccan Plateau is also having subgroups. Like we have the Maharashtra Plateau here, which is a subgroup of Deccan Plateau. We are having the Karnataka Plateau here. We are having the Telangana Plateau here. All these plateaus are the subgroups, are the parts of the Deccan Plateau. And this has happened because it's not that once only the lava has come out and it has solidified. Lava has come out, then there is gap, again the lava came out, again there was gap. So in this way, layer after layer was deposited with some gaps, and this has given a step-like appearance even in the Deccan Plateau. So this entire Deccan Plateau is volcanic in origin. In fact, these areas are also, the central highland is also volcanic in origin. Now this land surface of the Deccan Plateau is higher in the western side because this Western Ghat is higher. So the land is higher on the western side and it slopes in this way towards the eastern side. So rivers also starts from the Western Ghats and slopes towards the east, and they cover a long distance flowing over the Deccan Plateau. Like we have this river which is known as popularly as Godavari. Then we have the Krishna river flowing in this way. We have the Kaveri river flowing in this way. Apart from that, there are many smaller rivers which are the tributaries of these large rivers, and they flow from western side towards the eastern side. Apart from being a unique plateau area or the largest plateau of our country, this Deccan Plateau is also noted for having certain special features. The most important one is that it is rich in mineral resources, just like our Chota Nagpur Plateau here is very rich in mineral resources. This Deccan Plateau is also rich in mineral resources. Even our Shillong or the Meghalaya Plateau is also rich in mineral resources. This Deccan Plateau abounds in different kinds of mineral resources because the lava has come out from the mantle layer and it has deposited different kinds of minerals in this part of our country wherever there is plateau region. Second most important feature is that this area, especially in Maharashtra and also a little bit in Gujarat, it is covered with the black soil, and the black soil is very much suitable for cultivation of cotton, which has supported our cotton textile industry. And the third most important feature is that, as I have said just a few minutes back, that the plateaus give a step-like appearance, a step-like structure. So they are the ideal areas where hydel power stations can be set up. See children, the plateaus are a tableland. We know this from before. A plateau is a table-like structure. So when the river is flowing in this way and coming down, it is descending down. So there is lot of energy in this dropping down of water, and this energy is kinetic energy is converted into electrical energy when it falls down. So at many points in this plateau area, you will find that hydel power stations have been set up. So this plateau area not only is rich in mineral resources, supports cotton growing and cotton textile industry, but also is an area where several hydel power stations has been set up. Next, let me do the hills of this area, peninsular region. Now, the first hill is the Aravalli Hill. Now Aravalli Hill is a bordering hill of the Central Highland. Now this Aravalli Hill, you will be surprised, children, that it is a fold mountain. It is a very old fold mountain, in fact the oldest fold mountain of our country, and whatever is remaining now, it is the residual portion. It is the remnant portion. Why residual? Due to erosion, a lot of material of the Aravallis has been removed by the erosive agent, and so its height has become lower, its peak has become rounded in this way. It is not having a very high pointed peak, it is having a rounded peak in this way. The Aravallis, as I said, they are the residual hills or the remnants of the fold mountains from millions of years ago, but they are discontinuous. If they are not continuous, if you start from Delhi, Delhi is located here. If you start from Delhi itself, after crossing a few distance westward from Delhi, you will find that these Aravalli ranges are there as separate broken hills. Means separate peaks are appearing, and they are mostly discontinuous. The height ranges from 400 to 600 meter above sea level, but few peaks rise above 1000 meter also. Here we have the Guru Shikhar peak, and this is the highest peak of the Aravallis. It is popularly known as Mount Abu. It's a hill station in Rajasthan, and it's located very close to Gujarat border. So this Aravalli range continues as a discontinuous ridge. Discontinuous, it is broken. That's why the term discontinuous is used. So discontinuous ridge, especially from Delhi to Ajmer, and from there also it continues southward. It almost reaches the border of Gujarat, and Mount Abu is the highest peak of the Aravalli range. It lies in Rajasthan. Then comes our Vindhya range. Our Vindhya range forms the southern boundary of the Central Highland. This Vindhya range rises steeply. It rises as an escarpment. It rises steeply, and it acts as a watershed. Watershed means a divider between the rivers of the northern plain and the rivers of the peninsular plateau. So this the Vindhya mountain range is also important, and it forms a border of the Central Highland, and this separates the rivers of the northern plain, because some rivers they start from this portion of Central Highland and they flow and join the northern plain river like Ganga and Yamuna. So this Vindhya range acts as a divider between the rivers of the northern plain and the rivers of the plateau region. It rises steeply in this part because it has experienced faulting in the past. Similarly, Satpura range lies almost parallel to the Vindhya range. It lies to the south of the Narmada valley. Here in fact there are 7 hill ranges, so we call it Satpura. Sat, the term comes from the 7 hills. Mahadev Michael ranges are in fact the parts of the Satpura ranges, and there are 2-3 rivers, important rivers, which have started from this area. That is, we have the Son river which joins the Ganga river. Son flows very close to Patna. Here we have Narmada river also flowing from the Amarkantak plateau. Amarkantak plateau is a part of the hill ranges here. So this Amarkantak plateau is also a sub part of the plateaus here, and it flows westward and drains into the Arabian Sea. Coming to the Western Ghats now. The Western Ghats, you can see, it is a long range along the western side of the Deccan Plateau. It lies to the south of the Tapi Valley. Tapi River flows in this way between the Satpura range and the Ajanta range. Between the Satpura and the Ajanta range, we have the Tapi River. Tapi is a shorter river than the Narmada, and this Tapi River forms another boundary of the Deccan Plateau. Our Western Ghats starts from south of this Tapi River. Now this Western Ghats is known by different names in different parts. You will get this name Sahyadri in Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka. We have another part here which is known as Nilgiri. Nilgiri is a part which lies in Tamil Nadu as well as in Karnataka. Then we have another part which is Annamalai, and another part which is known as Cardamom Hills. So all this together makes up the Western Ghats. Now the western side of Western Ghats, the western part of Western Ghats. Suppose if this is the mountain range of Western Ghats, this is the western side. The western side is steep, whereas the eastern side will slowly merge with the Deccan Plateau. The eastern slope is gentle, the western slope is steep. This portion is steep, whereas this portion is gentle. This side is gentle. Gentle slope of Western Ghats. So this side merges with the Deccan Plateau, and this side which rises steeply, it merges with the western coastal plain. This Western Ghat is lower in the northern part and it is higher in the southern part. Lower in the northern part, higher in the southern part, and so the highest peak lies in the southern parts. Here we have one peak known as Anai Moody Peak, and this peak lies at a junction where the Annamalai Hills and the Palni Hills from here they meet. This is the highest peak of the Annamalai Hills and the highest peak of the Western Ghats. Here we have the second highest peak on the Nilgiri known as Doda Beta. This one is Anaimudi in the Annamalai Hills, and this is Doda Beta, which is the second highest peak of the Nilgiri or the Western Ghats. Now the average height of the Western Ghat is 1600 meters above mean sea level, and the width is 50 to 80 kilometers. Now more or less the Western Ghat is continuous range. Some little bit gaps are there. Now here itself very close by we have two gaps. They are the Thal Ghat and the Bhor Ghat. Now Thal Ghat and Bhor Ghat connects Mumbai with Nasik and Mumbai with Pune. Thal Ghat, Bhor Ghat, very close to each other. One connects with Mumbai and Nasik, the other Mumbai with Pune. Then we have here Pal Ghat. Pal Ghat here lies in the Nilgiris, and then we have here Senkota Pass, which connects our Nagercoil. Nagercoil is close to our Kanyakumari and the Cardamom Hills, and this one is there not in Nilgiri, sorry, it's in Annamalai. So we have Thal Ghat, Bhor Ghat, Pal Ghat and Senkota Pass. These are the main passes through which this movement is possible. Now, as I have said before also, there are several major rivers which originate here in the western side of this plateau area, Deccan Plateau. So mainly they take birth from this Western Ghats, flow over Deccan Plateau and drains into our Bay of Bengal. So from the Western Ghats, several major rivers they originate. Now these major rivers are a very important source of water for these states, which does not receive very much rainfall because they lie in the rain shadow area of Western Ghats. Rain shadow means the area which lies in the back side of the mountain. So these areas lie in the back side of Western Ghats. They receive less rainfall. But the western coastal plain receives very heavy rainfall when our monsoon winds they strike from this side. So the Western Ghats act as a barrier to the winds that are moisture laden and bringing moisture from the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea. So the Western Ghats act as a barrier to the moisture laden winds of southwest monsoons and give heavy rainfall to the western coastal plain. Now coming to the Eastern Ghats. Coming to the Eastern Ghats, children, the Eastern Ghats run in this way along the eastern part of Deccan Plateau. You can see I have not drawn it as continuous as the Western Ghats, but I have drawn them as broken lines. So they are the residual hills. They are the residues of mountains formed in the past. These residual hills, they meet at the Nilgiris, that is the Eastern Ghats meet with the Western Ghats in the Nilgiris. Now this Eastern Ghat has higher ranges in the northern part, higher peaks in the northern part and lower peaks in the southern part. This feature is just opposite of the Western Ghats. In Western Ghats, the highest peak is Anaimudi and then Dodabeta. In case of Eastern Ghats, the highest peaks lies in this part. In your NCERT book, the name Mahendragiri is given. It lies in Orissa. In fact, there are few peaks which are higher than this Mahendragiri also. But because in your book Mahendragiri has been mentioned as the highest peak, you also mention it as the highest peak. Another very important feature is that no major rivers originate from Eastern Ghats. Rivers flow through the Eastern Ghats, but none of them takes birth in the Eastern Ghats. So there is no river originating from the Eastern Ghats. And another very important difference is that the average height of Eastern Ghat is hardly 600 meters, whereas the average height of Western Ghat is 1600 meters. So they are much more higher than the Eastern Ghats. And this Eastern Ghats do not bring rainfall during the rainy season, do not bring much rainfall. Little bit of rainfall occurs, but they do not bring much rainfall to this part because the winds they cross parallelly. They do not strike this Eastern Ghats. So they do not bring much rainfall to the Deccan Plateau or the eastern coastal plain. Now children, we will do map work another day. First you all take down the notes of the Deccan Plateau and the bordering hills. So the first point of Deccan Plateau is it lies to the south of Narmada river and is shaped as an inverted triangle. It is bordered by number 1, the Western Ghats in the west, the Eastern Ghats in the east, the Satpura, Michael Range and Mahadev Hills in the north. It is volcanic in origin and made up of horizontal layers of solidified lava forming a trap structure with like appearance. Most of the rivers flow from west to east: Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, and many others. The plateau is subdivided into the Maharashtra plateau, the Karnataka plateau, the Telangana plateau. This plateau is rich in mineral resources such and suitable for cotton cultivation and a source to generate hydel power. Now the hill ranges of Peninsula. Most of the hills of peninsular region are the remnants or residuals of the hills formed many millions years ago. Most of the hills of the peninsular region are the remnants or residuals of the hills formed many millions of years ago. The plateaus of the peninsular region are separated from one another by these hill ranges and various river valleys. Number 1, Aravalli. It is a remnant or relic of one of the oldest fold mountains of the world. It is discontinuous ridge from Delhi to Ajmer and extend little more southward. It is discontinuous ridge from Delhi to Ajmer and extend little bit southward. General height is 400 to 600 meter with few hills rising above 1000 meter. Then the Vindhyan range, running parallel to the Narmada Son valley, it rises as an escarpment to a height of 300 to 650 meters. Second point, mostly made up of sedimentary rock of ancient age. They act as a watershed between Gangetic and Peninsular river system. Third one is Satpura range. It is series of 7 mountains and includes ranges like Michael, Mahadev, Kalibhit, etc. ranges. Runs parallel between Narmada, Tapi, parallel to Maharashtra MP border. Runs parallel between Narmada and Tapi, parallel to Maharashtra Madhya Pradesh border. Dhupgarh near Panchmari in Mahadev is the highest peak. Amarkantak is the highest peak of Michael range, from where Narmada and Son originates. Then the Western Ghats, faulted parts of Deccan Plateau running from Tapi Valley to a little north of Kanyakumari. The western slope rises steeply, whereas the eastern slope merges gently with the Deccan Plateau. Average height is 1500 meter, increases from north to south. Average width 50 to 80 kilometer. A continuous range which can be crossed only through few passes. Most peninsular rivers rises here. Southwest monsoons strike with Western Ghats when coming from Arabian Sea and causes heavy rainfall. They are known by different names in different parts: Sahyadri, Nilgiri, Annamalai, Cardamom, etc. Some passes are Thal Ghat, links Nasik to Mumbai; Bhor Ghat, links Pune to Mumbai; Pal Ghat, located between Nilgiri and Annamalai in Kerala, connects Kochi and Chennai; Senkota Pass, lying between Nagercoil and Cardamom Hills, it links Thiruvananthapuram and Madurai. Eastern Ghats, they are in the form of residual mountains which are not regular but broken at intervals. Both Eastern and Western Ghats meet each other at the Nilgiris. It stretches from Mahanadi Valley to Nilgiri in the south. Average width is 100 to 200 km. Average elevation 600 meter above sea level. No major rivers originate in the Eastern Ghats. Eastern Ghats lie almost parallel to the monsoons coming from Bay of Bengal and do not cause much rainfall. Now a comparison between Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. We will write the Western Ghats on the left hand side, Eastern Ghats on the right hand side. In Western Ghats, first point stretches from Tapi River to Kanyakumari, and this side stretches from Mahanadi Valley to Nilgiris in the south. From Mahanadi Valley to Nilgiris in the south. I am again repeating, stretches from the Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiris in the south. Second point, average width in Western Ghats, average width 50 to 80 km. In this, the average width 100 to 200 km. Third point, in Western Ghats, average elevation 900 to 1600 meters. Third point here, average elevation 600 meter above sea level. Fourth point, continuous range and can be crossed only through few passes. Comprises of discontinuous and low hills. In Western Ghats, most peninsular rivers have their origin here, and here no major peninsular rivers originate here. 6 point, act as an orographic barrier to southwest monsoon coming from Arabian Sea and give heavy rainfall. And this side, as it lies parallel to the monsoons coming from Bay of Bengal, it does not cause much rain during rainy or monsoon season. And 7 point, it is not a difference, in fact, it is just a name written. Highest peak is Anaimudi in Annamalai, Doda Beta in Nilgiri. Highest peak, Jindagada and Mahendragiri. Both of them are in Orissa. So children, you all compile your notes very well, and that's why I am not giving any questions to you all. And after I complete this chapter, we will have a live session through the Cisco WebEx. You will note down your problems, whatever material you need an extra explanation. Please join me through the Cisco WebEx next week. Thank you, children.